everybody. Welcome to the panel by Mentor Me, where we're talking about the college application process. We have with us today Mithun and Jwalan.
Okay, so I'm Mithun. I graduated TISB in 2019, and I study at NYU now. I'm a sophomore studying finance. So actually, I don't have a very interesting answer to this question. I didn't really want to be bothered with it, so I had a counselor do it for me. So she just made like a huge short list of maybe like 30 schools, and like she made it super easy for me. She put them into like categories and linked a bunch of stuff that I could use to shorten that list. And yeah, I brought that down to like 12 whatever TISB's limit was. I think it's 13. I brought it down to 13. Honestly, it was mostly based on the like prestige and ranking of the school, which in hindsight probably wasn't the best way to go about it, but I don't regret it. So.
Hi guys, I'm Jwalan. I'm a junior at Duke. So basically, I knew that I wanted to do econ and environmental science. So because I knew what I wanted to do, I pulled up all the top schools for my program, and then I shortlisted like I think 20, 25 schools, just like how Mithun said, and then with my counselor, we narrowed the list down with other factors. So the first factor was obviously like the program, and then we took all the other factors like weather and the size of the school, like the life, like student life, all of those things. After you do your research, you just start narrowing it down, cutting schools off your list that don't suit you, uh, and then you just you arrive at your golden 13 or whatever. My initial, like, I was hell-bent on not going to a very urban school. So I didn't apply to schools like Columbia or NYU and stuff like that. And then I was also really, like, I really wanted to go to the West Coast. Like, that was like really on my mind. And that's why I applied early to Stanford. I mean, that was a shot at a lottery. I mean, it's always a lottery, but, and then I applied to the UCs and stuff. But so weather was a huge thing for me, and even like when I chose Duke over all the other schools, like I got into Cornell, Dartmouth, like one of the main things was weather, because I mean, for me, like I don't want to be freezing my, like I don't want to say it, but I don't want to be freezing um while I'm studying for like 6 months, like Chicago, Vermont, New Hampshire. These are like really cold places, and for some people, like these kind of factors, like you wouldn't expect weather to be such a huge factor when you're like making your first list. But after I got into my colleges and then I had to choose, then weather became like one of those things. Because I realized that you have to live there, for 4 years. So whatever suits you best.
Yeah, so like I said before, to be honest, it was just completely based on the quality of the program and how well reputed the school was. And I think, like Jwalan said, if I didn't get in early to NYU and I had a bunch of options, then I would have weighed those factors out, like weather and stuff. But the decision was just made super easy for me because I got in early and I had like a legal agreement to go here. So it was just completely off my mind after that.
I mean, I mentioned how like I was hellbent on not going to a very urban school, but I realized that I think that was somewhat close-minded of me. Like maybe I should have looked at like some of the other schools. Like I should have valued, say for example, schools in New York, and maybe I should have put more effort in some of the checking out more urban schools, because sometimes you feel like there's when you're in the suburbs, your life at university becomes inward. It's more about the school. I mean, I'm lucky because I'm at Duke. Like Duke's, like life at Duke itself is like really diverse and amazing, and there's a lot we do as a school. But I can imagine like being at a school in like like in even more suburb rural areas where you're really like locked into that bubble. And I think I don't want to, I realize that I'm happy I'm here and not further into that bubble. And that's something I would really like tell people to keep in mind once they have schools to choose from, because your criteria completely changes before and then once you get in, and your thinking completely changes.
Definitely.
But that's very natural.
Yeah.
I should have definitely factored things other than the reputation of the school. And I think that I just got super lucky that I ended up, stuck at NYU, because I feel like if I hadn't if I had chosen another school that I didn't really like once I got there, I would have really regretted it. I mean, luckily I don't. But that's, I mean, I after I got here, I realized that like the QS rankings don't really mean anything.
Yeah.
And like something that to take from like one of our previous panels was that like once you're looking at the top 10 schools or even like 20 schools of your field, they're all the same. They're all the same
Yeah.
quality in terms of education. And that's where rankings don't matter. Like then maybe rankings of like, I don't know, best social life, like or whatever, that matters. But like the
Yeah.
like overall rankings itself don't matter.
You you won't be surprised how much food matters.
Mm,
Like you speak to some of those kids in the IVs, and trust me, they're not happy with the food. Like it makes a huge difference to your life.
yeah, my joke with that is that like I'm really close to UCLA and I'm always like so excited to go to UCLA, not necessarily to meet my friends, but more so for their food. So like my friends are there. They're maybe giving me the food, but like the food is really why I'm excited.
I really, really like the fact that I got in early. Like I got in mid-December, and I feel that's when a lot of people's stress about getting into school started, and mine finished, and it was just great. Like my friends were doing essays and stressing out, and I was just like relaxing. I went like my winter break was super relaxed. I didn't have to do any work, and I feel like once you, and the thing about NYU was that at the time that I applied, I'm like, I'm probably not going to get in, but I'll just do this anyways, as a long shot. And I got in, and I didn't even think about that when I applied, that if I do get in, I don't have to do any more work, even though I was applying to like 17 schools. It was just like, that's it, it's done. And no more stress until you actually get there, which is great. And also it helps you in preparing to go to the school. You can start learning about the school way earlier. And you don't have the decision-making process also very difficult once you get into many schools, I feel, especially for a lot of my friends. So I'm just glad that I didn't have to go through all that.
I think Mithun mentions like a lot of the good advantages. I mean, the strong advantages applying like early decision. One thing I knew about Duke students who apply early is that once they get in, they have lots of opportunities to interact with each other for that period of few months, and they get to know a lot of people before you come to campus, which is harder for the regular decision kids because then they get aggregated into that big pool of people who got admitted. So I've seen that like visible on campus that like people get to know each other, especially like if for students who, like, for example, if you get in early, what Duke does is you can actually go and spend a weekend at Duke and stay with a Duke student. It's called Blue Devil Days. So I think a lot of schools do stuff like that. So that's what I think. If you can attend one of those, I think that's a good advantage. Another thing, like another upside of applying early, I think, is like, especially with early action. I mean, people say things about admission rates and stuff, but the good thing is you're not bound unless it's restricted early action or single choice, which is what Yale, Stanford, and a couple of other schools do. That's where the schools are getting really selfish because they want you to apply. They're not binding you, but they're also not letting you apply to other schools. So you have to be really decisive. And I think when you apply early, it's like your mindset. Do you have a school in mind where you really see yourself and you want to spend the next 4 years there? You ask yourself that question. If you're confused, then I would say, like, apply early actions, but don't do the ED. That's something I felt. So I did early action. And then in RD, like you have a lot of choices and you apply to a bunch of schools you get in. I agree it's a lot of work, but personally I felt it was so worth it because in the end it was like a thali of schools for me to choose from. I spent a good 1 month thinking about where I want to go, where I see myself. So I think that was really, that was a great process and it was really worth it. But if you don't want to have that many schools, if you don't want to put in that much effort and you're actually like you rather focus on other things, then early decision is the way to go. Like it's a good way.
I think so as well. I think like in contrast, I know a lot of people like who have like done early decision, gotten to their school, and then regretted it. I think there's a flip
Yeah.
side to it as well. I think you just have to be really, really certain about that school. And I think that's like the case with some people, and it's just not the case with some people. So yeah.
I can talk about my Common App. So basically, like one cool thing is, I actually found out that my Common App was one of the reasons I got in. Because basically, what we get to do is we get to like petition the admissions office to release part of your admissions record for you to see. There's this process at Duke you do, and they send you a PDF where you can see like some comments, but then some things are omitted. And I saw that my Common App did well, so I was happy. So hopefully I give the right advice. But basically, like my whole like the thing I always say to people is like your Common App and your application in general should tell a story about you. Like it should be the story of you. Like it should be a whole package. And like it's like you like think about it like you come on Shark Tank and you're selling a product. You just have to think about it like that. You have to be able to sell that whole application, not just one essay. Or if it's too fragmented all over the place, admissions officers like, okay, who is he at the end of the 5 minutes they spend reading your application, they should be able to say, okay, I know who this person is, I know what they're passionate about, or at least I know the things they value, their strengths, weaknesses, and if they just things about them. So how the way I did is, mine was about diving. Basically, I described my journey as a dive. And what I said is, as I kept going to different depths of the dive, I spoke about different things in my life, and I basically wrote, the whole thing was like a metaphor. I brought in my passion to for the environment. I brought in my family. I brought in life at boarding schools, and I somehow connected that to like just the whole experience of a dive. So I think like that Common App gives you the opportunity to show your creativity, and you should just go for it.
Completely agree with what Joanna said. I also feel, we don't, NYU doesn't have that cool Duke thing, but I think the essays were a big part of the reason I got in as well, because, my counselors were saying that based off the grades, the shot isn't that good, but there still was. And although I wouldn't like to say that there's a formula to the Common App essay, because, it's obviously the best thing to do would be to find something out of the box. But I feel that something is really good that Joanna did as well, and I think I did that on some level as well, was to use a situation or a metaphor or something and connect that to the things in your life, which is what I did. Again, I did it through, I was talking about the finances of Viva, and I connected that to, yeah, which is kind of good because I applied for business school as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what I feel is really important. And again, building on what Jwalan said about painting a whole picture, I feel nowadays we as college students get a lot of advice on how resumes and cover letters should change between the employers you're applying to. The same applies for colleges. Even though you might have a bunch of essays that you use for different colleges, you can't have a college application, especially for a school you really got into, that only paints like one side of the picture. Like you use a bunch of essays just about one thing. You need to think about that actively while curating the, I don't know, 1, 2, or 3 essays that they ask for. And you need to show like a diversity. They want to see that you're a well-rounded person. They don't want to see just like the aspect of, okay, he's good at the major, or he did a bunch of extracurriculars in school. And I think it's very important to paint a well-rounded picture of yourself.
The why Duke or the why NYU essay. I think there you can have more. I mean, again, everybody has their own way of writing this, but that's the essay. Like the first thing I would do there is to just have my research on point. Like I want to know like I want to know everything about that school that really is something that makes me want to go there. So you mentioned the things that, like, what is Duke to you, is the question. That like, why Duke is not just like, okay, yeah, tell me something that's good about my school. Well, yeah, I mean, Duke is a good school, top 10 school. That's not what they want to hear. What they want to hear is, why do you think Duke will be a home for you, or the right place for you? So you have to connect yourself to the place. So it's a two-way street. And that essay is pretty important, I think, because it shows how much interest you have in that school. And yeah, it just shows the depth of your research.
Going to their website and being like, I don't know, finding like the niche of like Duke's website, that's not enough. Like you have to go and read about one professor's, like if you're interested in biology, you have to go to a professor's like lab page and read about it, and like understand their mission statement, understand like why you'd be interested, and relate like your experiences to their experiences. And that's kind of like how you approach that essay. You have to be ultra specific. And college application process is only getting more competitive. So the more specific you are, the better.
The better, exactly.
Yeah, I was going to say that unless something about it truly resonates with you, the reader will be able to see right through it. Like you can't just, so many people when I was in school, a bunch of my friends were like, oh, dude, just go to the website and like see some people's research and mention their names and you're in. And like, even at that point, I was like, yo, that's probably not how it works. You know, like I think they can just instantly tell.
My experience was that like I applied to a bunch of UK colleges and colleges like in Asia, and I got a lot of results in like February, which really helped me and helped me like just feel better about myself. But like I know people who had to wait till like March 28th, and that's like killing them, right?
I mean, I don't want to sound like an ass, but I didn't get rejected because I applied early decision. But something that really helped, maybe this will be helpful to people, was I applied to another university that sent the result, not binding obviously, that sent the result out before NYU. And even though it wasn't a top school, I got in like a month before my NYU decision. I was super nervous about that, but that just gave me a huge confidence boost. Even though it wasn't the best school, I was just like, okay, like we're on a winning roll and we can keep it going.
I guess so when Stanford early came out, like, you know, we stayed up all night to check it and stuff like that, and I didn't get in. And then it was like, you know, I it was honestly, it was a one day like feeling that like I felt like shit. And then the next day I was like, you know what, okay, let's restart from here, because you have so much ahead to do. And then you realize, you know, there's a lot more schools waiting. And then in March, like, so March is like this crazy month, right? Because you know, just starting from March till the end, colleges just keep coming out one by one. You hear about your friends. That can be a very stressful time for someone. For example, like, you can see a lot of your friends getting into college, and that can really move you mentally. Like, personally, I've known it to have affected many people, and you know, my sister also talks about it. And then in the, like, for example, I found out about Duke. Duke was the last school I got into. So that was on my birthday on 31st. So that was like, you know, I was really happy and stuff. So the way I like to think is celebrate every acceptance. And it's not about the validation, but it's just the fact that someone took the time to read your application, and they liked you, and they thought you would fit in. So it's an invitation. So you should just celebrate every acceptance as it comes, because as Mithun said, it's a huge confidence boost, and you need that. You know, in your second semester of IB, you have so many things going on. There's some heartbreak here, or there's some problem there, or you know, you get a 5, or you know, whatever. So you're dealing with so much stuff that you should take it as it comes, and just whatever you get into, or if you don't, just that day matters, and then move on to the next.
Also, I can't emphasize enough how insane it feels to open your application in dorm when all your friends wake up just for you at like 5 a.m. and
I have a distinct memory of someone getting their app. It was like BU, or it was like Northeastern, and it was in the library, and there were like 20 people around him, and it was really exciting. Excitement was building. Everybody was super excited, and they didn't get in.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that sucks. So
that hurts. Yeah, exactly. And it hurts, and it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. Like,
I think either way, like, being surrounded by your friends is good.
Yeah.
But
so
yeah,
like,
you still have that thing. Like I'm surrounded by this group of people that woke up at 5 a.m., which is something they would never ever do just for me, which is just great.
Yeah.
So I remember like I was, so every, like, 3 people got into Cornell from my my batch, and both the 2 of them had already gotten in before, in the early round or in the initial stages, and I got in RD. So when I got in, like, they somehow, I don't know how they found out. Somehow people find out, and I don't get this. But like, I remember Abhyuday came running from the literally from the reception to dorm, and we both ran, and then we like bumped into each other, and it was like all dramatic and stuff. But anyways, like, there's a lot of memories attached with getting into college and also getting rejected from colleges.
Yeah.
Especially, I think for boarders, it's just something special. So I guess Mithun doesn't have much to offer on.
Yeah, exactly. Do you want to talk about it?
Honestly, I felt like shit. Like, just straight up, like it was, and even the letter was like, it was a straight up rejection. And I was like, I looked at it, I stared at it for 2 good minutes, and I was like, okay, like I don't really know how to feel. Like, that's how you actually feel. You feel like you feel bad, but you really don't know how to take it. Because that's the first time, like your first rejection, especially, that's the first time you're like, what is, like, what do I do now? And I remember, like, I remember because it was so early in the morning and I felt so bad that I was just like, you know what, the best thing I can do right now is go back to sleep. So that's exactly what I did. And I went back to sleep. I woke up and then dealt with the day. It's not like that day you feel bad, but like the thing is, it shouldn't, see that rejection isn't telling you that you're not good. That the way you should look at it is, it's telling you that the school doesn't think that you would be a good fit there. And that's actually an important thing, because if the admissions office is experienced, they don't choose you for reasons, and they often, if you check out the admissions Instagrams and stuff, they'll talk about this stuff. When they don't choose you, they feel that you're not going to have a good time at that school, and they think about those things when they make those decisions, and you should also value that. So you think about your acceptance as completely the opposite thing. They want you to come because they think you're going to feel like home at this place. So if you just think about your rejection that way, I think it certainly feels a lot better, and there's truth in it. So that's how I dealt with my rejections. And yeah, there were a couple, like there were like, I got like 4 5 rejections. And yeah, you just deal with them, as long as you put in your 100% in your application process. You just have to cross your fingers and just know in your mind that, you're going to get in somewhere where you'll be able to have a path ahead for you. And you just hope for that, wait for that school. We just have certain thoughts in our mind, I would really want to go there, maybe that's the right place. But ultimately, like, I would be giving different advice to someone in the US, but we're here in India. We honestly have no idea what this school, how our life at this school is going to be. I had a whole different view about Duke until I got there, and the first day was something totally different, right? Similarly, I can imagine if I went somewhere I got rejected from, like, it could have been a disaster, it could have been great. You don't know these things, and you should take that uncertainty and then, actually understand that.
And I think also, speaking to the fact that especially in big schools, it really is a lottery system. And even so in like Ivy League schools, because they're getting so many applications, it really is like a lot of luck. Yeah. A lot of luck is attributed to your application.
Some schools didn't publish their admissions rate because they didn't want to. Because that, it's so low for some schools. It's mathematically a lottery.
Yeah. And I think it's also important to remember the pool in which you're competing, because you're not competing against American students. And right. I think that's the biggest misconception everyone can have. You're competing against like 10% of the people that get in.
Yeah.
And so obviously those people are going to be at a certain level already, right? I think that's something that's really important. Again, especially like with big schools.
Honestly, I applied to around like 17 or 18 schools, so I feel I have a huge range.
Okay.
I don't think that I tried to find every single loophole that TISB had to add more colleges in. It was a lot of work writing essays, but yeah, I think that I had the complete range. I don't think there's anything
more than. If you had to ED another college, which would it be? What would it be?
If I had to ED another college, I actually think I made the right decision. I don't.
Yeah.
Nice.
Fine.
No, that's a good response.
Good for you.
So if I had to add another college to my list, I feel like it would be Northwestern. I didn't add Northwestern to my list. It's a great school. Yeah, it's cold, but like, I feel like, see, that mindset of mine, like, I was hell bent on like, I don't want to be in Chicago, and like, I know, so those kind of mental, what do you call it? You place those restrictions on yourself. Just sometimes it's important to break it down, and then just look at a school for what it is. Because I just know how like Northwestern is, and I know some few things about them and stuff. So they have good programs, and that's a school I've recommended to too many people to apply. So I feel like I should have done too. But ultimately, I mean, I feel like I made the best decision for myself. And I had a good range of schools on my list anyway. So yeah, I don't think I did full justice to your question.
That's fine.
Also about your ED question,
Yes.
I feel this definitely happened to me. I didn't feel it personally, but a lot of people asked me. I feel like once people get into the ED school, everyone starts asking them, "Do you think you should have shot higher?"
Yeah.
Which I think is complete nonsense. Like I thought I had a slim chance of getting in here, and then the moment I got in, I called my dad. I'm like, "Yo, I got in." He was happy for like 30 seconds. He's like, "You think you should have applied to Penn?" I was like, "Dad."
Parents are
No.
meant for that. You know,
That's
honestly,
great. That's terrible, man. That sucks.
I agree.
That sucks.
So
Yeah.
whoever's applying ED, if you get in, just like don't even think about it. Like you're lucky you got in. Just like be happy. Don't regret anything. You should
Yeah,
not have.
that's why you better be happy applying ED in the first place.
Exactly.
Better have that
Don't apply
mindset.
ED if you're
Otherwise,
like, okay, I'm most probably gonna get in. That's stupid. Then don't apply
otherwise,
ED.
all these other people in your life are gonna eat your brain up by saying things like,
Exactly.
Yeah.
And if you're not sure about it, you're gonna like start listening to them, which is
yeah,
like,
exactly. That's not a place you want to be in.
yeah.
And I think it's an important thing I'm going to try and include in every video. But once you have your ED, or once you have your EA or ED, or like once you have your decision, like ED or ED2, rescind all the other applications. You are holding up spots. That's not like, don't do that.
Not cool.
Yeah.
Also, don't just like accept the waitlist position in a school where you're not really sure you're gonna end up going if you get in through. And I know people who've done it. Some of them live 5 meters away, and I don't appreciate that.
I tried to put in things that had value to me as opposed to listing out my extracurriculars, which I feel is a common mistake.
Yeah.
And I feel the only way you can convey to the reader of the essay that it had value to you is if it actually did have value to you. If you didn't have a genuine liking for it, or if you didn't learn something from it genuinely, you just cannot convey that to the reader, like no matter how good of a writer you are. And yeah, that's something I really focused on, because again, I spoke about this in a previous panel as well. I feel the environment at TISB is like, everyone's like, yo, you got to do this has got to be in your essay, this has got to be, you got to do these extracurriculars, and then like you're in. And that's just not true. Like if they see value in you, if they see that you're like an honest person that tries to do things that they genuinely enjoy and will persevere, that's all they're looking for, as opposed to someone who's like, oh, I did all this and I have this extracurriculars and it made me a better person, whatever.
Yeah, I think quality over quantity, and like kind of to add to that, the longer you do something, that's also the better it is. That's kind of just a general thing. So if you've been doing something since 6th grade or whatever, 9th grade, consistency is good, because that's what they like to see. They don't like to see people who made up a club in 1 year, ran it for 6 months, and then stopped. Obviously, like, not sustainable, so they don't like to see that.
Just think logically, right? Like, what's better, doing a thing and being committed to it and actually doing something good out of it and learning, like doing something for 2-3 years, making an impact, working at an NGO for 2-3 years, whatever, designing a course fund, like whatever you want to do, whatever takes time, and you actually give that time and you show you gave that time, versus you doing 500 things but doing it like 1 month. I mean, I don't have to ask you what's better, right? Like, what's better. And that's what even admissions office, they're not dumb. Like, that's something we feel, like we'll write our way around this, or we'll design, or I'll say, my CAS experience, I'll make it sound like actually, I should deserve the Nobel Peace Prize tomorrow. But no, like, people can see through this. Mithun said he's completely right. And also, I think another X factor, or I think something I would really recommend. Mithun applied, directly ED, so he may not have gone through this whole exercise. But when you apply to a lot of schools, one thing you want to know, ask yourself before applying, is figure out like who you are. That's really important. Just give that a thought. What are your core values? Because yes, like a lot of my applications were curated towards that school to a certain extent, rightfully so. But you put them all together, you should still be able to get 1% out of it. And that should be your authentic self. So you do that exercise with you. Ask yourself who you are. What are your core values? What matters to you? And, why does it matter? You ask yourself those questions, and, honestly, 30% of your work is done if you can figure out those questions, because that really helps you write those essays.
It's really important because in your essay, you're describing yourself. So you can be describing an event that you did, or like a paper or whatever. You can be describing a certain thing, but it's still about you. So you should know who you are in order like that you can frame it that way, I think. Yeah.
You know what's like I randomly thought about this once. Like college is like probably the first time you seriously write about yourself, unless you're like the person who likes to journal like regularly, which not that many people do. Like when I first wrote my Common App Draft 1, I think that was the first time I genuinely wrote a long essay about myself. And the last time I remember writing something remotely something about myself is probably in like primary school, where they give you that English exercise. In the middle, you write essays on this, that, literature, this, that, but you don't think about writing on yourself, and that's hard. It's hard to write about yourself.
Yeah.
People don't always anticipate that.
So with college essays, surprisingly, it was one of the very few things in my life that I didn't procrastinate on. So I think something that really helped me was getting my SAT out of the way. Like early in 11th grade, I did well on my SAT. I got first try. So that was something that really helped me, because a bunch of people were stressed about that, even into like 12th grade, which would have sucked. But yeah, as soon as I tried to finish essays at least 2 to 3 weeks before the deadline, and
100%.
send them in and get you, because the moment you finish one and you put a good, like, not it can't be terrible, if you put a decent effort into one and you just send it and get feedback from anyone, it's just an improving process from there. The hardest part is just getting that first one in, and once you like win that mental battle against yourself and just like decide to put an hour or two and do it, it becomes so much easier from there. And that's something that helped me, and it's probably something I should use in school as well, but I haven't managed to do that. But yeah, I think it's a great strategy.
So I learned a lot in my 1 month of applying for Stanford, because Stanford has like 10 essays. So like 150 words, 50 words, even 50 words, like these are small essays, they matter. And they're reading these and you have to think about them. So it took me a whole month to actually apply to Stanford, like, and write the whole application and my Common App, everything. So that was a long process, but I learned to manage my time very well. And I 100% agree. You want to get your SAT out of the way and by doing it in 11th. Give it 2 tries, whatever, but do it in 11th. It really makes a difference. I gave 3 subject stats, and I was able to do like 1 subject stat per sitting. So I did like 3 different sittings, and that really helped me, because I know some people, some of my friends, they did 3, they did well. Like I know I would not have done that. I know if I did 3 together, I would never have survived. So I did like bio, math, and chemistry, all at 3 different sittings, and that really helped. I just it's just come for an hour, write it and go. And that makes it easier. So you have your own strategies you come up with. Think about what kind of test taker you are, take it accordingly. And then when it comes to essays, regular decision is a lot of work when you're applying to like 10 schools and writing all those essays. So, and then all that happens before the deadline in December. So, and end of December, Jan. So the way I did it is I made Google Docs for each of my colleges, and then I would do the essays. I would get done with one, move on to the other. And I wouldn't be working simultaneously on all of them. I would be working maybe on 2 schools simultaneously. So that's decent as a breadth in terms of like how much work you're doing, but also like you have time to spend on each essay. And then I did at least like the way I managed to do at least 3 drafts for every single essay that I wrote. And that's simply because I was like, okay, you have this time when you can write, and then there's times where you like don't feel like writing, and you figure that out. For example, like I was writing a long essay, I was like, right now I feel like writing. Capitalize on that time, don't go play that time. If you really feel like writing, use that time, write it. And then tomorrow I'm like, I don't feel like writing today, and that I can't think of anything to write. You have a mind block, then don't write. Go out for a walk, go play sports, come back, and then sit and try. So you try all these things, you figure out when you can write, when you can't write. These all these small things really make a difference, and then you can figure out your own strategy to get around writing those 40-50 essays you end up writing.
I think while it's important to time management for college application process, it's really important to keep in the IB work in mind. Not necessarily in your second half of 12th grade, because that's relatively chiller, like better times. But the first half of 12th grade, it can be really stressful. Like, lots of stuff going on, IAs, EEs, data collection, the whole thing. And there's always going to be 300 things going on in IB, but I think it's important when you're making your schedule, consider both of them together, not as two separate things, because they're both going to affect your schedule, I think. Yeah.
And make schedules. It really helps. Don't keep everything in your mind, because what happens is you keep everything in your mind and then it boils up and then you go crazy. And then Sunday you're like, beep, like, what do I do now? And one last thing, basically there was 1 month in 12th grade that was like kind of hell for me, which is when I was doing all this stuff. And I was struggling in math, because math HR is like, hard, really hard. So I used to stay back after school till like 4:30 doing math with my math teacher, and then I would come back and then directly go to street cafe or something, and then go to dorm. So it was like, it felt like, because you miss out on all that after school chill time, and people are back playing FIFA, whatever, just chilling. But it's okay. Like, sometimes you tell yourself that it's okay to sacrifice for that small period of time, and you grind your way through all those essays. You feel like amazing after you get done. When you press that submit button for the last application, you feel like a god. Trust me on that.
Don't listen to most of your friends. That's what I was saying.
That's
no, but I don't know if this still goes on, but this happened a lot with us. I feel like when we were there, everyone was just trying to find out how to scheme their way in.
Yeah.
And everyone, every day someone had a new play. They're like, okay, this is I know the answer. Like, this is what we have to do. And everyone would follow them, and they were like, oh yeah, that's a great idea. And nobody would have thought of this. We're finessing the system. That happened all the time, and it was just like, I also bought into it a few times. Definitely, I'm not gonna lie, but it's not the way to go. It's just not the best thing you can do is just stay true to yourself. Try to be as honest as you can. Obviously, you can't make the mistake of being way too straightforward. And you gotta it's a college application. You gotta make yourself look good. Yeah. But don't follow the crowd. Be yourself. Be genuine, and don't believe stuff your friends say, and don't think that if you don't do it, you're not gonna get in anywhere or something. Because that doesn't make any sense.
So first thing, 12th grade, no one's stopping you from having fun. You should have fun. Like, that's the point of school. Like, you study, you have fun, you do work. The whole point of that 1 year is to test you whether you can have fun, do work, and get through college at the same time. And if it's that you're taking on that whole package of challenges, you're not just taking on, I need to get into college. You also need to do well in IB, and you also need to have fun. It's your last year in school, and as a boarder, I think that's super important. Like, you cannot. But again, the most important thing there is you should know when to say no. I say this. I think I said this on another panel. Saying no is an important skill that you gain throughout your life, especially at college, and also in school, because you need to know when to shut off and when to shut on, and turn on. It's just that just shows the kind of efficiency you have. Like, today, I don't feel like going out and wasting my time or just doing not anything. I want to write my essays, so I'll write my essays. But tomorrow I'll go out and have fun. You'd manage your time. Time management helps you enjoy. Ultimately, it helps you enjoy, and you have to look at it that way.